We read a man named Aeneas, paralyzed and bedridden for 8 years. And that's a long time to lay around and limp around. Peter prays for him and he gets healed. In Luke 17, 11 through 17, we read the story about the 10 lepers that got healed. Luke 17, 11 to 17. Now these were men. I don't know how long they had it, but it was an incurable disease in those days. Jesus touched them and healed them. In Mark 5, verse 25 to 34, we read of a woman with the issue of blood for 12 years. And she got to thinking, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. So she used the faith that she had. And she believed for a miracle, and she got it. So far in all these scriptures, these people had health issues. Time had passed, but it was never too late for that miracle because time was still, there's more still time to pass in their life. In Mark 5, verse 1 through 19, we have the story of the Gadarene demoniac, the man named Legion. He was a nut. Nobody wanted to do anything with him. Jesus cast out the unclean spirit, and the man was delivered and set free. He cast out the demons out of this legion and put them in the swine, and the swine went crazy, and he ran into the sea, you see. So there's the first case of mass suicide. Yeah, I mean. And then there's Mark 5, verse 35 to 42. Mark 5, 35, 42. Here's a daughter of a ruler of a synagogue that had died. Jesus hears about this and tells the ruler, do not be afraid, only believe. And so Jesus takes Peter, James, and John into the house. And the people were crying and wailing and boo-hooing and, she's dead. Jesus tells them that she's not dead. She's sleeping. They thought that was impossible for her to live again, and so they laughed him to scorn. But when Jesus had put them out, the ones that were whining and crying and boo-hooing, he put them out. He put unbelief out. How about sometimes in our lives? There's times when there's maybe some doubt once in a while. And so in the dark corner, there's a little bit more, there's some hidden unbelief that outweighs our belief once in a while in our faith. It's never too late for God to do a miracle. Jesus prays for her and she comes to life again. Jesus is a life giver. And she went on past that miracle in more days. Acts 9, verse 36 to 41, we read of a woman named Dorcas. She's a godly woman. She gets sick and dies. And so they wash her body for burial, and they laid her up in the upper chamber. Then they sent 2 men to get Peter. So Peter comes, He prays for her, and she comes back to life. It was never too late for her miracle. Time had passed, and there was more time to get past in her life. John 11, verse 1 to 44. John 11, 1 to 44, we read the story of Lazarus. You know, he ends up dying, and he's put in a tomb. He'd been there for 4 days, right? 4 days in a tomb. He wasn't almost dead. He wasn't mostly dead. Being dead 4 days is what you call graveyard dead. So Jesus is on the scene, and he tells Lazarus, come forth. And he does. And he's alive again. You would have thought that would have been too late for a miracle. You know? You would have thought. But time had passed. And there's some more time to get past in his life to go on. In all these miracles, I guess it wasn't too late to get a miracle because they lived on in life, healed and delivered by a miracle of God. So with God, it's possible, capable of happening. Even in our lives. Maybe there's something that you've been praying for years and years and years and years and years. It hasn't happened yet. Time has passed. But thank God it's never too late to believe for that miracle. Now we read where Jesus said, knock, seek, ask, and if we do, we will find if we seek, and it'll be open if we knock. And so, you can tell there's probably some time passing between asking and getting that answer. And that's true in our lives. We keep asking and keep knocking and believing with faith. You know, the pastor's been preaching that, people say they have faith. Yeah, it's easy to say. But it's living that faith every day that counts. And then there's times you read where in Hebrews 11 where some didn't get all their miracles that they were asking for and believing for. Well, that's because we live in a fallen, sin-cursed world. It's not perfect. If the world was perfect, we wouldn't have any problems. No. Can you imagine what it would be like if Adam and Eve had never sinned? Well, Adam and Eve would still be young kids, being thousands and thousands of years old, right? That's a good thought. And so, it's never too late for God to do a miracle in your life. Faith and believe with all thy heart, not just part of it or once in a while. So I have this simple little thought as I close. I'm not big on poetry, but here's 3 lines for you. It's never too late. It's never too late to plant a tree. Think about that. And it's never too late to venture as far as the eye can see. And so, it's never too late for God to do a miracle in thee. Praise God. That's all I have this morning. Praise God. As always, we always give the opportunity to, if you're not saved, I'm sure Hope everybody is. Unsaved, a backslidden heart, that you can come to the altar and make things right with God. Leave this place changed and forgiven.